Hello, this is Geotech and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Steam Deck. I got the Steam Deck about a month ago. I thought it was going to be a device that I was going to use, test, do a few reviews on, and then not really play it on a daily basis. A few things about it have actually surprised me, and I actually found myself finding some good, consistent use out of it. So let's take a look. So when you receive the Steam Deck, you just receive it in a simple box, which is inside the Steam Deck case. It has this very nice shiny letters in the cover here. It is really nice that they included the case in case I ever want to take it for a spin on a plane or just traveling somewhere. I won't have to worry about crushing it or sitting on it, shattering the screen. I was actually pretty impressed with the build quality as well. I mean, it doesn't feel like some premium, high-end, expensive device, but it also doesn't feel cheap either. It feels really good on the hands. All the buttons and sticks feel really good and very clicky. My one major gripe with the Steam Deck's display though is the huge bezels, especially in light of the Nintendo Switch just released a few months ago with a very big screen, no bezels, and a nice OLED screen. It would have been nice if we got an OLED screen at least here for the Steam Deck, but maybe we'll get that for the Steam Deck too. When you first launch the Steam Deck, you probably will have to plug it into a charger. Then after it charges for a bit, you can power it on. You'll be greeted and asked to enter in your time zone and connect to a Wi-Fi, and the Steam Deck will initialize and update itself. And then finally, you'll get asked to sign into your account. And once you're signed in, you're inside the Steam Deck UI. So my biggest initial concern with the Steam Deck was the battery life. The flaw in my thinking was that I was comparing the battery life to the battery life that we're used to on our smartphones, which can typically these days last us the entire day or 2 days even. But whether battery life is a concern depends on two factors. One, how often are you actually going to play and use the Steam Deck? And two, which kind of games are you going to be playing? Are you the type of gamer that plays 4 hours per day? And would you be splitting that playtime between your main desktop PC, if you have one, and the Steam Deck? Like, would you do 2 hours on the PC and then 2 hours playing a different type of game on the Steam Deck? Some games will eat up battery more than others, especially if you're maxing out your GPU. So if you're playing something like, let's say, The Witcher 3, and the GPU is being worked out to the max, in that game I get around 45 FPS. Or are you playing something lightweight like The Binding of Isaac, which is already capped at 60 Hz? In my use case, I'm actually playing very lightweight games usually. On the Steam website, it says that for lightweight games, you can expect the max battery life, which is approximately 7 to 8 hours. And that sounds about what I was getting with The Binding of Isaac, maybe 6 to 7 hours, 2 hours a day, charge it every 3 days. It's not a device that I have to worry about charging all the time. Of course, that could be different for you. If you're playing something heavier like The Witcher 3, let's say you're playing 2 hours per day, then you might have to charge it every 2 days. And you can always lower the frame rates to like 30 frames per second and lower the settings to not max out your GPU. So overall, the Steam Deck battery life will only be an issue if you're planning on playing more than an hour per day, and especially if you're playing AAA heavier games that are maxing out the Steam Deck CPU and GPU. Another concern of mine was the display resolution. I'm already spoiled by playing games in my 4K 60Hz monitor in high settings. Also on my smartphone, I'm used to 1080p at least. So I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the Steam Deck's 800p display. I tested a few games like The Witcher 3, Skyrim, and it feels very similar to what I'm used to at 1080p, 1440p, maybe not quite 4K resolution, but I think it actually came closer than I thought it would. And so it confirmed it for me that, whether you're like on a Switch or the Steam Deck, the display resolution is fine. I felt like I could see a lot of detail, especially when I had the settings in high settings. And it just goes to show that resolution in general is overrated. Then we have the Steam Deck interface itself. And here I didn't really have any expectations. The UI itself is great. It's properly scaled. It's fairly smooth. And in general, I haven't had any issues. I really like that you can toggle the settings on the right hand side here, where you can adjust the brightness, the volume, and you have an FPS counter. Just a lot of very useful tools. I haven't had any big issues launching the Steam Deck. I think only on one occasion did it freeze on me, but otherwise it's been pretty smooth. However, one major issue, and this may be probably the worst issue I've had, is trying to set up an external micro SD card. I did only buy the 64 gigabyte version because I thought, well, I'd rather put my games on an external micro SD card, and so I can expand my storage whenever I need to. At first, I thought it was going to be a simple thing where I just plug in the SD card and I'm just able to install games on it automatically. But no, first I actually had to do a format, and you could do that via the settings. But this is where I kind of ran into somewhat of a nightmare. I kept having issues formatting the SD card. I wasn't really sure what the issue was. But, reading online, one of the tips I found was that I'm supposed to format it on a computer. So I did that and I plugged it back in, tried to do a formatting, and it still kept giving me the error. And I tried various things like enabling the beta version of the Steam Deck. Then I switched to preview and tried doing the formatting again, but nothing seemed to work. Eventually, I found myself doing another format, and randomly, I was actually just able to install games. So I never formatted or got a message that I formatted the SD card successfully. So that could be a potential big issue, because I think that's an issue that could affect the casual user, and I don't want to see any users turned away from using the Steam Deck because of a bad experience. In terms of the overall gaming experience, it's been really good. Obviously, I can't play a lot of MMORPGs or especially games that use anti-cheat, but I'm able to play games like Fall Guys, with some tweaking. Now, there is a Steam Verified, that Steam checks various games to see if they work. Based on what I read, sometimes that is not necessarily a guarantee that the game will work 100% of the way. But for the most part, most games will work. Even a lot of games that are not verified will work fine. However, one issue that I've noticed with some games is a scaling issue. I think there's a lot of games that weren't designed to play at the Steam Deck's resolution or display. So one game, for example, is Kingdom Rush Vengeance. It does give you the option for 800p resolution, but a lot of the menus and options are not scaled well, so they look a bit too tiny for my taste. Other than performance issues, you may run into those same issues with certain menus just looking a little bit too small, but those are issues that could only really be fixed by the developers. I also did test the Steam Deck in desktop mode. I was able to connect my wireless mouse and keyboard and was able to use it as a full-fledged desktop. The Steam Deck in desktop mode uses the KDE desktop. Yeah, it just worked without any issues, just like I would expect it to work on a desktop or a laptop. But like I said, I'll probably do some more exploration of the desktop environment. It is looking like the Steam Deck is a success. Based on everything I've seen from other reviewers, creators, gamers, this is all good news for Linux gaming, as now we'll be seeing more games compatible with Linux. And me personally, I am excited for what's to come hardware-wise. There already is talks of a Steam Deck 2 on the horizon. And the one thing I'd like to see in that next iteration is maybe a more compact Steam Deck with a bigger screen, with an OLED display. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing more manufacturers jump in on this handheld gaming craze, maybe adopting the Steam UI, maybe spinning a version of their own. But the biggest hurdle to gaming on Linux is still the anti-cheat problem. There are still a lot of multiplayer games that are very popular that you still cannot play on Linux, or if you can play them, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to getting it to work. So that's going to be a challenge moving forward. Let me know your thoughts. Do you see yourself using the Steam Deck on a consistent basis? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked my video, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. If you're enjoying my videos, you can support the channel on LiberaPay or Patreon, and check out some more videos on YouTube, Odyssey, or PeerTube. And feel free to follow me on Mastodon or Twitter. See links in the description below.